Welcome back to our attempt to provide you with some historical context to go along with an A-level study of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of our video, and here we are with part 2.
During the 18th century, medical research moved on leaps and bounds but revealed as many new questions as it answered. In the 1700s, microscopes were a relatively new invention, and the most popular methods of treating a patient were bloodletting, glycerins and purging. The general public had very little faith in doctors and couldn't afford their services anyway, so they went to alternative medicine for a cure.
At this time, medical science was discovering all sorts of new phenomena, and it seemed as though people were on the verge of discovering the secret of life itself.
In biology, galvanism is the phenomenon in which all electricity is applied to the muscles to produce a movement. The cartoon shows how people believed electricity could control life. Galvani, who discovered the phenomenon, believed that this was proof that all life was actually electrical. Galvanism is only to be used in the historical context, and the modern term is electrophysiology. Mary Shelley was a great believer that life could be brought through electricity. Not only was this an interest for Mary Shelley, but also for other romantics. The picture shows the monster being brought to life by the electrical current.
On the 5th of November, 1788, the king attacked the Prince of Wales and tried to smash his head against his wall, his son. George was placed in a straitjacket, and eventually his doctors had a special iron chair made to restrain the patient. This can relate to Frankenstein, as he rejected his creation and wanted to destroy him. George III was now a deeply unpopular king, and there were several attempts at assassinating him.
Eventually, George was declared unfit to rule, and the Prince Regent, George IV, ruled in his place. Who knows how the king's subjects were influenced by his insanity?
Jean-Jacques Rousseau theorised that society's negative influence centres on a self-love, or the need for survival and self-preservation, combined with the power of reason. He also argues that arts and sciences did not benefit man, but were as a result of pride and vanity. This relates to Frankenstein because of Walton and Frankenstein's desire to conquer the sciences. Thomas Paine opposed slavery and campaigned for free universal education. This relates to the book because the creature had to teach himself.
The French Revolution happened between 1789 and 1799. This was a period of unrest and riots between the autocracy and national liberal groups. A main reason for the revolution was because Louis the King brought many wars to France and resulted in many deaths, and he got executed. The main riot happened at Bastille, which was a symbol for the autocratic power in France. This relates to Frankenstein as it shows a change in attitudes towards religion and science.
The American Revolution refers to the Americas gaining independence from the British Empire between 1775 and 1783. France played a key role in aiding the revolution, providing the American patriots with money and munitions. This is similar to the way Victor relies upon Clavel for emotional support against the battle against the creature. The American Revolution included a series of broad intellectual and social shifts that occurred in early American society, illustrated in Frankenstein by the several role reversals between the creature and Victor and Elizabeth. The American shift to republicanism, as well as the gradually expanding democracy, caused confusion in traditional social hierarchy and created the ethic that formed the core of American political values.
Losing a colony like America must surely have been a blow to British confidence.
Grave robbing and body snatching, 1714 till 1830, before Anatomy Act in 1832. Legal supply of corpses were those condemned to death. Motives: stealing jewellery, personal possessions, body parts for experiments to make money. Bodies were only good when fresh. There was no method of refrigeration in those days. Before the Anatomy Act in 1832, people that were put to death were eligible for medical purposes. Hundreds were killed every year. Relatives put iron cast bars over graves so that the bodies could not be stolen.
I think it's very easy to forget that some of the things that Victor Frankenstein does in the novel were really happening in real life. George IV took over from his father, George III, when he was insane, and this period is known as the Regency period.
This is George IV. He was King of Great Britain, Ireland and Hanover from 1820 until his death 1830. George was a stubborn monarch, often interfering in politics. George is remembered largely for his extravagant lifestyle that he maintained as prince and monarch. This guy, he was a mad human being. He is George IV, the Prince Regent's father. He was king before his son, and he relates to the mental depression as Frankenstein suffers. The regency was George's 9-year tenure as Prince Regent, commenced in 1811 and ended in 1820, marked with victory in the Napoleonic Wars. Catholic emancipation is
fondly remembered by Catholics of this time.
Whilst it is not true to say that Frankenstein was one of the first novels ever, it was written whilst the whole
the whole concept of the novel was a lot fresher than it is now. The very first novels were produced during the 17th century. Plays and poetry had existed for centuries, and writers like Shakespeare just rediscovered them.
Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was an important contribution not only to Gothic horror, but to the development of the novel itself. Perhaps one of the greatest literary influences on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is Coleridge's epic poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. It is a fact that Coleridge came to Mary Shelley's home and performed his poem for her family. The poem features a character rather like Robert Walton, who goes through a horrific ordeal, but survives and goes on to tell the story of what happened to him to other people so that they can benefit from it. And on that note, thank you for listening, and goodbye.